And once again, we are live in studio, another exciting and insightful edition of the MCW Cast. I'm Legacy MCW announcer Larry Legend.
MCW director John Rollins.
And I'm Tara. Welcome to the cast.
That's right. Rolling right along in 2022. And if people weren't familiar with you after last week, I'm sure they know who the man is that's sitting across from the table from me right now.
Yep, filling in for MCW owner Dan McDevitt for this week. So happy to be back. And on the opposite side of the table this time.
That's right. You're not in the hot seat this time. Well, last week as we kind of celebrated our 1 year anniversary of doing the MCW Cast, we kind of did a behind the scenes one where we discussed actually all of the parts that make the MCW Cast and MCW in general the wonderful machine that it is. And so you were across across the table last week, John, as one of our guests, because we were letting everybody know just what it is that you do here at MCW.
Yeah, it was an interesting experience. Like, we've had so many stars on here, and then, let's peel back the curtain. Yeah, exactly. No, like, you may be joking. I'm serious. But, yeah, it was a different experience for me.
Yeah. And they say variety's the spice of life. One thing that I learned, and I want to go ahead and shout it out right now, I know we're a week or two removed, but John just celebrated a birthday, so happy belated birthday from all of us here at MCW.
Thank you.
And after learning that fact, my best friend for over 20 years, Craig Swenson, he's also born on January the 10th. So I feel like I know you even more now that I found out that factoid.
Got that Capricorns going.
Oh, yeah, big Capricorn energy.
I was just going to ask. All right, because I'm this month too, but I am not a Capricorn.
You are an Aquarius.
Oh, I definitely am.
Yep, my first one true love was an Aquarius.
Yep, we've talked about this before.
Only 6 months it lasted, but sometimes it's passion.
Well, we can be a little airy.
Well, you said it. I didn't. You said it.
No, that's true. I mean, that's one of the things. If you're into that kind of thing with astrology, there's definitely some characteristics that I feel that I identify with as an Aquarian. Creative, kind of, oh, look, something shiny over there.
Yeah.
It makes us unique, all right?
Yeah.
If you can tie us down long enough to finish one task,
you said it right there. Tie them down long enough was my experience. But real quick, before we go on and start to rattle down all of the different platforms that you can, subscribe to and listen to us to on a weekly basis, I just want to once again give a huge shout out to our coffee club members. We are in the season now where it is cold in the studio. Okay, John's doing the pure Deer Park, but Tara and I, we've got some of that good Java, and it's warming our souls, and we want to thank everyone from day one that has ever contributed, even if it's $1, a dollar cup of coffee. We appreciate it. Keeps us caffeinated, keeps us warm, and thank you to each and every one of you.
Well said, Larry. Thank you for that. And also, we want to thank you for subscribing and liking and listening, and whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, or if you're checking it out on a podcast platform like Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Breaker, Castbox, any of those. And we've just recently learned, too, that there's, a ranking of wrestling podcasts out there. Indeed. And we fell somewhere in the middle, correct, John?
I think it was like 56, I want to say.
Maybe, yeah.
Right.
With, 25,000 subscribers and like 5 million listens. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, kind of a proverbial feather in the cap for all of us that have done this from day one.
Yeah.
Kind of the catalyst of it was RJ and, us missing our locker room leader and missing seeing one another. And I think it's a real feather in all of our caps that we did this thing. We stuck with it. We got over 100 followers on Twitter. Okay, I'm going to shout that out because I think it's impressive in this day and age with so many different people to follow on Twitter talking about so many different things. I want to thank every last one of our 106 followers on Twitter. And hey, this is season 2 of the MCW Cast. Let's get up to 200.
Okay.
I know we can do it.
I don't understand Twitter, so.
Oh, you understand it enough. You understand it enough.
I understand it enough to not like it.
Well, it's the interface, and we're going to leave it at that because we'll go right into season 3 with you and me back and forth with this Twitter thing.
I'm never going to. I'm just never going to be a fan of Twitter, ever.
Well, I'll tell you one of the reasons I'm a big fan of Twitter is because you can kind of be put on to up-and-coming stars in the world of pro wrestling. In this day and age, it's not too uncommon to get on Twitter on a Monday morning and see someone's reel or, there's these new spaces, now, different people to host spaces where it's like our morning coffee and blunt. And it'll be all people from the pro wrestling community, and that's one of the things that Twitter affords. Which honestly, I don't see anything that's like that really on Insta or Facebook. So Twitter sometimes can be where it's at, which is a great segue to our in studio guest this week on the MCW Cast. You may know him as Basquiat's Brutality on Twitter. I'm talking about the one and only one half of the Kings of the District, Eel Oneal.
Show your support for the MCW Cast while sporting some great gear by going to teespring.com/stores/MCWcast. You can pick up a full line of official MCW Cast merchandise, from coffee mugs and face coverings to t-shirts and sweatshirts. Visit teespring.com/stores/MCWcast.
And we are back with the MCW Cast and our special guest, Eel Oneal. How are you?
I'm doing well, guys. Nice to be here. Nice to see y'all. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming. This is actually a first for us that we have had it. We're having a guest on our cast that has never wrestled for MCW.
Well, Kim Clayson.
Yet.
Well, Kim, but she's not a wrestler. So that's different.
Yeah.
Okay, but
So
Someone in the business.
Yet to wrestle for
we have to
MCW.
say yet.
Yet
right.
to wrestle for MCW. No, thank you for having me. I'm actually I'm very pleased and honored to be held in such esteem. Thank you so much for having me and being interested enough to speak to me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, I've been waiting to get you in the hot seat here, Eel, and one of the reasons is because one of the things that I always pride myself in, no matter where I go in the country, is when I get to announce someone like Rich Swann from Baltimore, Maryland, or I get to announce someone like Leo Rush from the District of Columbia. I love when the DMV flag is raised high in different places, and also I love when it's legit. Some people just pick where their hometown is, but like RJ, the Bruiser from the bad streets of Cub Hill, Maryland, or Eel Oneal from Baltimore, Maryland. So I'm very happy as a MCW, not original, but legacy player, having started in this company and gone to different places to see someone that's from the old hometown making their way in the circuit.
It's very funny because when I a couple of years ago there was a map going around, and I had just started wrestling, and there was a map going around of all of the people from different places in the United States, and like Maryland is so small, and there's Gilbert, there's Rich, and then like nobody else I guess global esteem, but like I know of a ton of wrestlers from Maryland, you know what I mean, and I keep being like, that person's from Maryland, they might be billed from so and so, but no, they're from Maryland, I mean, there are a ton of Midwest wrestlers who like are hot on Twitter, who like when you look in their background you're like, they're from like the DMV, like just say you're from there. But like, it's a little bit easier to wear a cowboy hat. I guess that's a better gimmick. I don't really know, like a beehive haircut or something like that to get over. It might not be as relatable to everybody. But
Maryland, like this area, the DMV area, has always had like just such a rich wrestling history.
That's what I'm talking about. It drives me crazy when people don't I completely forget what the Royal Farms Arena was before it was the Royal Farms Arena, but like
Baltimore Arena.
But a ton of great wrestling has happened in that building.
Oh yeah, and
like you can research it and find like, great main events have happened, and like a lot of like Maryland, DC, Virginia was a hotbed of wrestling for a time, and I mean like. Clearly, based on a lot of what's happening and like the talent that you guys have coming from here and the talent we have coming from DC and people coming up from Virginia, like Jordan, we're having a bit of a resurgence. I'm really proud to say like, when I stand up and I say like we're from the DMV, I'm like, like it's something I really take pride in, take respect in.
There've been books written about the wrestling scene here. I mean, it's my youngest son. He's 11. He had to read a nonfiction book for sixth grade.
Sure,
and he's like. I take him to the library and he looks through all the stuff. He got a book on Kobe Bryant. He didn't like it. He's like, I don't know, Mom. I want something else. And I was like, well, have you read the books that are written about wrestling in Maryland? He's like, wait, there's books written about wrestling in Maryland? And then like he's flipping through it. He's like, my dad's in here, and I'm like, yeah. Like,
Yes.
did you not know this? I don't know. I mean, but he's grown up around it his whole life. And for a lot of people, they've just grown up knowing that wrestling is something that you can have here. There's, we've had a long-standing indie wrestling scene for decades, and
Yes, we
that,
have.
there's some people who have, gone on to national and international acclaim, and they've gotten their starts here. And then there's other people who have just stayed here for, literally decades.
Yeah.
And, just it's always been kind of an inviting scene, and, people can really connect, and they've got some serious brand loyalty here.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is one of the prides and the pitfalls of DMV wrestling. Is there are very many there are a good amount of our audience who it's like trying to get them to come to another promotion is like pulling teeth, but it's like variety is the spice of life. And seeing wrestlers who don't just work one style or don't just work one promotion is one of the things that you love to see. Me as a professional wrestler, I've had the misfortune and equally the good luck of having to be a journeyman when it came to my training and into my wrestling, where finding training that I was like, this not only suits me and suits my body type, but also suits my morals and my ability. And the high standard that I hold myself to, I had to travel around to a lot of different teachers and find those places. And doing so made it so that like when I go on the road, a lot of times the one thing that I know is that if I have a match, I can have a match with anybody. And as soon as I lock up with them, I kind of can figure out, okay, so what do they know? Lock up with them. What do they know? Lucha, cool. Technical wrestling, because that's my milieu. Yep. Do they like ground and pound, smash mouth wrestling? Well, okay, let's go. And I know it. And
Right.
like while I was, what is this? This is going to be year 8 now. While I was learning it, like from year 1 to 3, I was like, this is hell. Like going everywhere. This really stinks. Like all this driving and all this learning and all these different people and not being able to look at somebody and be like, that's my teacher, and that is the famous person who's my teacher, and you know them, and that's the person who will claim me. And now I'm like, oh no, I like I'm a Swiss Army knife.
So that's kind of a different way to get into the business.
Yes.
And a lot of people, including many of our guests that we've had on here, started here. Like they researched professional wrestling schools. They said, I want to go to, the best. This is close. So they, made conscious decisions. Some people, moved across the country even to come here.
Yeah.
And you kind of did things a little bit differently. Can you kind of walk us through like how you got started? What made you get started?
Yeah. So this'll feel like it's not part of it, but it is. For my entire life, I've been doing 2 things: playing sports and like acting and performance and stuff. My family has equal parts like military folks who love sports and people who are in the arts. And when I got to the higher level of sports, when I got to college football, I completely like destroyed my shoulder. And I couldn't play anymore. So I was like, well, I can't play, and like this is pretty bad, so I'm probably going to have to follow acting like I've been doing my entire life anyway. So I got really, really, really focused into performance, lost a bunch of weight, like more weight than I would have liked to, but I was a little thin lollipop. And then one day somebody was like, hey, you do sports, right? And I was like, I did. And they were like, you like acting, right? Yeah. And they had this intensive for the actor that was about professional wrestling. It's the Grimy Scots. And they have this thing where they show actors the principles of professional wrestling and marry the two so people can go, oh, hey, yeah, like that's what that's what this is. This is art and it is sport at the same time. It's quite literally a martial art. When they got done with the intensive, they were like, hey, Ely, like you're pretty good at this. Like, not to say like, but you're preternaturally kind of good at this. Like you have the athleticism. At that point I had started working out again, so I was getting a little bit bigger. And they were like, you should come and train with us. So I started training with them, out in the boonies. And then I was like, oh, okay. So I am okay with this, but like, at this point, I feel like I'm stagnating. So then I started training at other places. Like I went up to Chikara and learned some stuff. I went down south and picked up some stuff. I went to Alexander James. AJ helped me finish up, and got while training around, I got a real rich understanding of kind of what we do, or at least what I do as my kind of piece of this. And then I got to train with John. I got to train with Gresham, and that was that was an incredible. And I was already kind of leaning toward, I want to be a technical guy anyway. Like I really want to focus on my technicality. And then he gave me some pieces in my toolbox that I was like, yep, those are the things. And then along with AJ being like, okay, so you want to focus on that this is what we're gonna do. I've just turned into this, what I would call a well-rounded wrestler. Some people think that I maybe don't do it as much high impact flip stuff as I should for a person that's my size, but I slouch. I'm a legit 6 foot. Okay?
That's probably good though for the longevity of your career, though.
what
I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
I'm hearing you say that, and I'm thinking, no, that's really smart. Like,
But yeah, it's been a long, confusing, interesting journey that has allowed me to be this bombastic character that I am, because I do have a level of charisma that I think sometimes really shows when I'm cutting promos and stuff like that. But then also focus to like the fine-tuned athleticism and focus that it takes to really be in a wrestling ring and hold myself to a high account. Never happy with a match. Yeah, and that's my journey. Not in a nutshell, but it's a little bit longer. But
well, it's definitely an interesting start,
Yeah.
because it's not the way that people traditionally do. In fact, a lot of people, when they get into the business, they're told not to do that because they're going to pick up bad habits
Yes.
along the way.
Yeah.
And then when you finally get somewhere, they're going to have to unlearn all the stuff that
They're
you
gonna have
picked
to
up
teach
that
you.
was bad. Yeah. So
and it did, and that
Yeah.
did happen to me a couple of times where there were people who said, "Oh, don't do it this way, do it that way, don't do it that way, do it this way," and it stinks. But also it is really great for understanding that when you get in the ring with people who are from different backgrounds, you'll be like, oh, okay, I know what he's doing. Like if he goes left when you're used to zig, when he zigs left when you're used to zagging right, you're like, oh, okay, I see where you're from. And like I just had a match with somebody where I was like, what? I'm like in the middle of this doing something. And I'm like, what is he like? What's going on? What is happening? And I'm like, oh, he has a match that is in his head that he just does.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He has, and like that's not what we called. That's not what we were talking about in the back. But he's reverting to that, because some people go, okay, so basically I want you to do this and then this and then that. You know. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, it doesn't leave any room for improvisation, but at least I know where he's headed, so I can adjust. And knowing that information has been really helpful for me, because I mean, the amount of opportunities that have just shown up because it was like, well, we don't have anybody who can do it, and I just put my hand up and said like, yeah, I can. Has it's benefited me more than not that I wouldn't have loved a genius trainer to just go one place and learn, but it's benefited me more than I know some other folks who just said, yeah, I just I came one place and then I went and then I did it, and they churned me through. Yeah, that's me. That's Eel in a little nutshell.
Okay, I got something. You have now referred to yourself 2 times as Eel.
Yeah.
So is that your nickname, or is that how it's pronounced?
Is no, Eel. So Eel is the name. Eel Oneal is the name. Ely, Eelington, Eelsworth. Those are just ways that
Just like pet names for you. Like, okay.
If I'm talking about,
I've been saying this wrong the entire time. I'm thinking other announcers.
I was like, wait a second.
But Eelsworth is now forever in my head.
Yeah.
So,
I like Eelington.
If I'm talking to people and I'm talking about myself and I just throw in like an Ely, or like frequently I'll shake people's hands, and if I'm giving them working names, I'll be like, yeah, it's Ely. And sometimes people are like, what? And it's like, it's Eel, but like, hi.
Now, how did you like? Is that your birth name? Like that's
No.
a nickname or something, a family name?
So the name the name is Aaron Oneal actually, and then when you're I was looking for something to distinguish myself because I was just going by Aaron Oneal. I have a Basquiat tattoo on my back that says "Ideal." So at one point it was the Ideal Aaron Oneal, and I was like, I don't love it. It doesn't feel fun, and like a lot of kind of the way that I wrestle is in the spirit of fun. Like I like being a technical guy and stuff like that, but to make sure that I don't just turn into like plain black trunks guy who comes out, does this and then locks up and doesn't, talk to the audience or anything like that. I was like, I want to give him something, something with color, something with vibrance. And then, do you guys know the superhero Plastic Man?
Of course. Well, I do because
Yeah,
I have to watch it.
His name is Eel O'Brien, and then I was like, well, Eel O'Brien, and I was doing like a rubber band. I was trying to do like a rubber band man thing at that point, so I was like, okay, yeah. And then somebody was like, oh, hey, like you like eel, like like the fish, like the electric eel, and I was like, oh yeah, hey, and then it was the electric Eel Oneal, and then I got into like a kind of some heel work over pandemic, and that's with the African American Horror Story stuff came up, and then I have a couple of monikers, so sometimes I'll just have them string them along and be like the electric, what is it? It's the electric one, the Bad Brain, the African American Horror Story, Eel Oneal, stuff like that.
See, now, as an
I would
announcer,
love to announce him. I would love to announce you.
well, I mean, I was actually going to say those have got to make sense to me.
Yeah.
Because there was a wrestler who shall not be named on this podcast who had so many.
Yes.
So many.
I think I know who you're speaking about.
And as an announcer, we only have so much pipes.
That is true.
Yeah.
Wind in our pipes.
That
and
is
I used to
true.
think it was kind of like a little selfish.
Yes.
To be like task masking your announcer fourth match in the card to be like, here's the this and the
Here's
that
the
and the this
clipboard.
and the that and the this and the that and the
It's like stuff. It's not fair. That's why if I decide to do it for a really long-winded one, it'll usually be in a more familiar crowd because that'll be fun. They'll usually
Right.
stick around. And then if it's something new, I'll pick one. I'll pick either like the Bad Brain or the electric Eel Oneal, or if I'm being a heel, the African American Horror Story, which is super, which allows me to be, like I said, Swiss Army knife. If I go somewhere, I don't have to have a friendly nickname. I can just go, boom, okay, heel, face, whatever you need, good guy, bad guy.
I'm sorry to jump in there. When I first heard your name, what I thought of is when we were all like 5 and 6 years old and someone would do something gross and they'd be like, ew, ew. Like, so I almost thought you were supposed to be like a teaser. Or wanting the kids to be like, it's Eel Oneal, so.
The E sound is, it's so weird because now I'm going places, I'm getting cheered, and they know me. Which is strange, and I'm like, you get the eel chance, and I'm like,
how do they go?
I'm like, eel,
Right,
that's
right.
literally. So
That's funny.
So up in Worcester, when I'm wrestling and like they're listening to my music because I come out to a hip hop song, I come out to 5-5 by Toby Niguigwe, and it has like a kind of bop to it, so it does lend itself to like one syllable chanting, and I was like, maybe they'll chant for me, maybe they won't. Like maybe they'll be psyched up for me, maybe they won't. I've been here enough, but like usually it's me and Jordan, and when it's me and Jordan, like Jordan has so much intensity that usually they get jazzed up for her. You know what I mean? She's the hot tag, so that's what we do. And then like I start bopping with them, and they start like chanting along, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, oh well, I underestimated you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the things like that. I'll talk to some of the students here.
Yeah.
When they first start getting ready to work on shows, they start at birthday parties, and I'll say, okay, how do you want me to announce you? And they'll just kind of get that. Well, this is my name. No. What's your like moniker?
Yeah.
What's your character?
We need to know your
Yeah.
gimmick so we
Yeah.
know what energy
And then
to
I'll
give
be like,
you.
where are you from? And they're like, I'm from, down the street. Like they'll give me their street address, and I'm like, no.
No.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, where is your character from? How much does your character weigh?
Yeah.
And I try to get that through to them, like, this is all part of the whole package.
Yes.
And I had a conversation with one of the students, this was like a month ago, and I said, so, the crowd was really trying to connect with you, but they didn't know what to call you because your name was like in Spanish, and
Yes.
it wasn't written anywhere on
Yeah.
you, and they
Right.
didn't know what to call you, but they really wanted to cheer for you. And he was like, I never thought about that. And like as the ring announcer, you hear that, and you're kind of at a great position because you can, you're right there by the ring, but you're also right there by the crowd. And like I could hear the struggle. Like they wanted
trying to
to
find
cheer, and they
something
were
for
trying to
ya.
find a way to
Yeah.
connect.
Yeah.
And like what you said, you have a one-syllable name like that, and you have music that it lends itself to. Like that seems insignificant, but it's so significant.
Yeah.
Like it's to the casual observer, they might not pick that up, but it's whether it happened organically or intentionally, like that's just that thing, because then they remember you.
I always tell new guys that if their names are too hard, find a sound that you can make.
Yes.
Yeah, that will get them. Yeah, that'll get them to, because if they can make the sound with you, they'll mimic you. Like literally,
Right.
you can make a sound and then they'll just chime right along, and then you're like, okay, good,
Right.
I got it.
And they want to be
Yeah,
fed
they want-
something.
yeah,
Like
they do.
they're waiting there. It's like a buffet, and they're waiting for you to give them the spoon. And, if you can't give them that connection, you're missing that piece of the puzzle, I feel like,
because they want to have fun with you.
They do.
I mean, they really do. They want to connect with you, and you just gotta give them something so that they can give it back to you.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not going to say, hey, you. I mean, like they
Yeah.
really, and the name thing is really important, and plus they need to remember you later.
Yeah.
Because then when, they see you at the next show, oh, wait, I know that
That's-
guy. I saw him. At
Right.
I was on Pro Wrestling Tees looking for a shirt, and that's that guy, like, so it's just all part of the package. And I think that that's something that not everybody comes into this realizing that they're going to merchandise themselves. They're going to make themselves a character and, really be somebody else.
Yeah. Sell yourself.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's part of the whole package, and we're going to take a break. On the other side, we're going to talk to you more about some of the components to the package that is Eel Oneal.
Bet.
Fuel the MCW Cast by visiting buymeacoffee.com/MCWcast. And for just $3, you can buy the cast a coffee. Or you can choose to become a member of the cast for just $5 a month and get several additional perks. That's buymeacoffee.com/MCWcast.
All right, we are back here at the MCW Cast, and I'm Tara, joined here, of course, with Legacy Larry, Legend, and producer John, and our guest, Eel Oneal. Welcome. Thank you. This has been a really interesting conversation so far. If you're just now joining us, Eel was walking us through kind of his character development and how he became a pro wrestler.
And actually, going back, let's rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
Were you a fan growing up? Because I didn't hear you mention anything about that.
Yeah. So I I've been a fan since obviously a bunch of us Attitude Era, but I I stopped watching wrestling when I was probably about 10, 11. My mom started cracking down on what I could watch, and like obviously, and then I went after college and everything. I went to Chicago for a little bit to train some acting stuff, and I was just zooming around on TV. And I was watching, SmackDown came on, and Raw came on. That's right, because it was the Miss Teacher Lady promo that Bray Wyatt did, and I love that promo. That's actually one of the promos that I always tell people, like it got me back into professional wrestling, because watching it there, I didn't know Bray Wyatt from Adam, and as soon as he delivered the promo, I knew exactly who he was, and that's one of the things that I'm always like. If you're gonna be a promo guy, if you're going to be a promo person, and that's what you pride yourself on. It's not your work, pardon me. It's not your in-ring work. Like your in-ring work is simple and storytelling. It's not fancy high-flying stuff. Every single time you deliver a promo and it's at an opponent, the people should come back knowing exactly who you are.
I find it funny that you bring that up because we just talked to those new students out there about the promos and getting yourself over.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. They should know from maybe not from the rip, but by the time that you're done, if you got a catchphrase, if you're a good guy, a bad guy, if you're gonna cheat, if you are quiet intensity, if you're loud, if you're bombastic, if you got a character, if you're funny, they should know by the end of that minute and a half, hopefully not longer than that, God. They should know, hey, that is who this person is, boiled down. And it's just, I was like, that's it, mastery right there.
That's interesting that you mentioned Bray, because honestly, the one who kind of like influenced me with promos to get out of the crowd and into the ring was Mick Foley. And I'm talking Mick Foley Mankind, like 96, first coming into WWF. And I honestly believe that in a lot of ways, Bray was the second coming of Foley in delivery and gripping you into a piece of theater. Not a promo, like their delivery and the way that they would take you on that journey where you're just kind of like looking at the screen like, please keep talking.
Like this is pro wrestling, but it's a show.
It's a show. That's the showman, the craftsmanship. So that's really interesting to me that Bray was the one that was able to hook you back in there, not with like any move, not with any one move he did, but with delivering that good teacher promo.
Yeah, because there are so many people who when they get in the ring, it'll be like, hey, their shine is boom, 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 fireworks, and that's when the audience goes, yeah, that's the guy I cheer. But like, if from them seeing your promo on Twitter or YouTube or Facebook or something that somebody plays on the screen just before they go like, oh, I know who that is. It's like that's magic.
Yeah,
that's a magic. It's a magic trick, and that's I think that's it's harder because now a lot of people are very moves focused. They know the things that make people loud, right? They know the it's like the kind of way that like it's pop music. It's the way that people know that like if you do a song in 4/4 time with exactly these chords, it reflects the heartbeat, so people it's catchy, so people will sing along with it, as opposed to writing an opera. You know what I mean? And it's like you're making art, and when you're making something that's artful, it lasts with people longer, you know, because I don't know how many people are still singing "TikTok" by Kesha, but Beethoven's been around for a long, he's been around for a long time.
What a great analogy.
That's interesting. Like it was Sherry Martel for me. Like I watched everything she did. Like I was definitely not a Miss Elizabeth type. So I watched everything she did. I mean, like if you asked me my favorite wrestler, it was Ultimate Warrior. Like I just love that energy. But like when it came time to actually like do this myself, I was like, all right, who's that person that spoke to me? And it was everything. And I remember just watching like where she put her hand, like just so many little things. And then like one day I got to wrestle her, and it was like the greatest moment in the world, you know, and I was so nervous, but it was like such a fun experience. But it was just, you know, it was the whole package, and that's really just, you know, makes everything so much better.
It does. It does. I'm always fascinated with our younger group of talent when they're very, very content inside of the ring focused. And that's not to say that like, please be sharp, be clean, have stuff that's incredible. Be a superhero, be a supervillain, show them something. But how frequently they forget that the job is more than that, because there are plenty of people who have seen great matches with a lot of content, with a lot of slams and bumps and flips and different holds and tricks, and never remembered the two individuals inside of that ring's name. And that's just such a heartbreaking thing to me, because it's like with one simple adjustment, which is garnering investment from that audience, you become a legend. You become gold.
Right.
Like, come on, man. Like you guys got it. You're so close. And then like the thing that's gonna change that is just knowing that it's not about the moves, but like it's not about the moves.
Yeah, you want them to remember your name. You don't want them to remember as that guy that does flips.
Red
the
guy
flippy guy.
Yeah,
the flippy
exactly.
Guy. Well, like we work in some towns, like we work in Hollywood, Maryland.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're not impressed by a Spot Fest match in any way, shape, or form. They're really, you know, they're impressed with engagement.
Yes.
I mean,
They're very old school.
Really old school. Galena, same way. I mean, like we run in some of these small towns where you get that, and then it's just like, oh, it's so good to be a wrestling fan. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, because they haven't been spoiled.
Yes.
Like, I've convinced there are people that come to the shows down there, like in Hollywood, that don't watch wrestling on, you know, Monday nights or Wednesday nights or Friday nights or whatever.
It's just such a blessing.
It's so pure for them. It
Yeah.
really is. I mean, like it's meaningful, and you know you know, that's part of what makes it special. You know what I mean? Like being able to have that experience.
Yep.
So I'm going to turn it to John because I know you have a question coming, don't you?
It wasn't really a question, but I know that earlier we hadn't talked about Flashback
I
Friday.
know.
Oh, Flashback Friday.
Yes.
That's
so-
Flashback Friday.
That's well, this is our resident Flashback Friday guru over
The
here.
old
Well,
Hashtag
we can use it
FBI.
as a segue to
We
something
can,
for,
we
something for
can.
Eel.
And then I got some things I want to bring up to Eel.
I know.
Please,
Okay.
Eel.
So if we go on Flashback Friday this week, we are looking at Arya Palmer and Gia Scott versus Eric Martin and John Schuyler with JP Callahan from Slamboree, little intergender wrestling that's pretty popular nowadays. And you've had experience with intergender wrestling against Trish Adora.
Yes.
So how was that experience?
Trish is one of the best professional wrestlers. I've known her for so long now. It feels crazy to not so long, but it feels crazy to be like, oh, I've known Trish since before the pandemic, and the pandemic feels like it's been going on for forever.
It has. It has actually been going on forever.
The first time we wrestled was for the Pan African World Diaspora tournament before she was even champ. It was just one of the brackets. And she beat me. Very, not very sound.
Was it the first round? I'm sorry.
No. So I beat Billy in the first round. Billy Dixon, God bless his soul, the Chocolate City champion. And then I went on to wrestle Trish for that second round. And it's a very good match. I love that match. In fact, actually, one of the craziest stories of that is Nyla, just after AEW had come. Had come into fruition, had come into being. She's from DC, so she just came to the show. And after the match, like I was sitting, ruminating over the loss and ruminating over all the stuff that me and Jordan were planning on doing because we were we had just started tagging, and she had a triple threat. And Nyla comes over and she goes, "That was like a really great match." And I was like, "Oh, it was okay." And she goes, "No, you don't understand. Like, that was a really, really great match." And like. That match was all about just working a body part. I'm really proud of that. That's one of my pieces of work that I'm like, yep, that's a good piece of work for me. Not perfect, never will be, but I've been blessed over my career to have wrestled all types of people, man, woman, non-binary, and just be classed with very good wrestlers, whether it just be whether it's Edith Surreal, whether it's Allie Catch, whether it's Trish, whether it's Shay McCoy, like a bunch of wrestlers who I'm like, yeah, that like different shapes, sizes, different wrestling types, like it's it's all wrestling to me.
Yeah, it's not about gender. It's just great professional wrestlers.
Yeah. And I've been really blessed. It's always so interesting to me. I stay out of it on Twitter, but when it becomes a hot button topic, because I understand both sides of the professional wrestling coin, but also I've never ever gotten into the ring with anyone and been like, "Hey, we're not 100% equal in this." Always, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of one of the parts of the job is you get inside of the ring, and then as soon as it's like it's your opponent and we're working, and like that's it's game time. That's what it is, and the audience is going to do what the audience does, and we react to what they do, and that's
right. There
we go. We're going to work. Yeah, but I mean, we all know how amazing Trish is. Like, come on, like, come on. She's a legend, and like with the Ring of Honor stuff, and with everything up in the air, and everybody in professional wrestling being like, what comes next? What's new? What's the new model gonna be? Where's everybody gonna land? Because everybody's up in the air right now. It's just very fascinating to me that like one company hasn't been like, hey, let's put a net on Trish. Let's ring her. Let's pull her in, and let's make sure that is our commodity. Because truthfully, like, there's not anybody in the world who I think is. I mean, like, golly, the Washington Post wrote a story about her. Come on.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, sign her. Sign somebody. Do it. Just do it. Like, you wanna make $1 million. You gotta make $1 million effort. And I mean, she's just what, 5'8" of 5'8" of 5'8" money pile is what she is. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the way that you put that. I want to take it to kind of a topic. Since we're talking about intergender wrestling, a man versus a woman, I want to talk to you a little bit about conflicts that arise when you are thinking of the artistic integrity that you bring to your craft.
Yes.
But then you have that sinking suspicion that maybe someone is going to watch this match not for the intent of the wrestling, but because they're really going to, I hate to call it out like I'm calling it, but get off on seeing like a woman, beaten, or maybe even see a woman beat a man and like kind of like, have that part of the spectacle not really be what your intention as an artist or your partner's intention was when you got out there. I know Beyond has a huge following in places like India and overseas where you can't really see women scantily clad, if you will, like interact with men that are scantily clad as well. And
they need long sleeves, the whole, like there's a lot of cultural things,
so, like,
considerations, even just attending some of the over in Saudi Arabia, like even there were women that needed their husband's permission to attend, to even just watch wrestling. So
and had to be put in a certain specific part of the arena. So conflicts that have arisen in your journey where it's been like, I'm having this great match with Trish, but I know that this is like to some people kind of like a custom.
Yes. So one of the things that I'm always so fascinated with is just the portrayal of weakness and strength, especially when we're inside of the wrestling ring, right? Like a lot of people like that is one of the arguments against intergender wrestling is like the concepts of weakness and strength, and this person shouldn't be able to beat so and so and be able to do this and that, and I'm always like, well, I do take into account my personal size versus my opponents, and I do take into account like, okay, so are people just going to be picking me up and slamming me? No, come on now.
Right.
Like, and that's with anybody though. Like anytime I wrestle, I wrestled Hippie Dicky Moon at Wrestling Lab, and he's all of 5'4", and like. He gave me one suplex, and I was like, "Yep, that's the match." And they went up big for it. You know what I mean? Now, I do have, and this is a thing that I've experienced a lot actually, just because there are a lot of people who Instagram's a thing, DMs are a thing. There are a lot of people in my DMs who just inherently sexualize the stuff that I do, whether it be with a man or a woman. Anyway, you know what I mean? Like, the people will be in my DMs and asking questions that, like, would make a nun blush, and I'm always like, that's so. It's interesting to me because I do know that people can sexualize wrestling so easily, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
came up in the early 2000s,
and I can't
late
cry
90s, early 2000s.
I can't cry about it because I'm a dude, and I can only imagine that for my female cohorts, for my associates and friends, it's got to be a million times worse.
There just weren't DMs back then. That's really the only saving grace. Somebody had to physically track you down. Oh, hey, you interested in doing a custom?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
So for me, it's always about my intent. You know what I mean? My artistic intent. I've got to understand that when I'm showing conflict, this is against two competitors who should be respected in equal regard. Sometimes them higher, because every once in a while I'll be a notorious monster. But the way that we are seeking to portray in our art this conflict, this fight, this wrestling match, is two people who have equal capability. Maybe not like the same stats if we were doing like a fighting game, you know what I mean? Like it might not be Ryu versus Ken, but like if Blanca, Chun-Li can beat Blanca. Chun-Li can beat Gandalf, can beat Zangief. The real story and the real part of interest is showing how. That's what I want to show people. Now I do understand people's, like, I'm always very interested to see people's discomfort with like deathmatch and blood. when it comes to intergender wrestling, and that's a bridge that I can't cross because I'm never going to do it. Frankly, I'm a pure rules kind of guy. That's me. That's who I am, and I'm probably never going to cross that bridge. But for those artists, I imagine that their exact same thing is, okay, so when we're inflicting pain upon each other, what is our story? What is our tale? What is our intent? Now, if you're buying, and not to shade them, by the way, if you're buying customs from these ladies, please pay them and be respectful and do, but when it comes to wrestlers who are doing the type of wrestling that I'm doing, that's not for any kind of gratification other than the portrayal of conflict and story.
Right.
Just understand that every single time I'm across the ring from anybody, it is opponent versus opponent, and it doesn't really matter who the opponent is. Yeah.
Now, have you ever been asked to have a match that you were like, no? Like,
I've said no to plenty of matches. But my new thing is because there are some folks who burn me personally and who personally I don't want to associate with anymore. So I will be like, okay, thank you so much for reaching out and asking me about asking to book me. Yes, I would love to work for your promotion. What would you be having me doing? I always give that offer. What would you be having me doing? And usually they're 100% upfront. Hey, this is that. And then sometimes they'll be like, oh, we don't quite know. We just know we want you on the show. Great, cool. Once you know, please let me know, and I'll give you an answer. But it's a business, and this is all about respect. And I am trying to be the most respectful individual I can while also keeping myself within a respectable boundary. Yeah.
Now, have you gotten any, we talked earlier about how this DMV area is so tight. But also there can be times when, if you work for them, you can't work for us. Have you run into that in such a small area?
Plenty of it. My the first school that I went to was that type of place. They will not be named, but because I did have a lot of great trainers and a lot of great guys who I grew up with, who I came up with. In fact, I mean, God bless him. He just graduated college. Tommy Seto Tommy Seto is a good friend of mine, and we both started at the same place. But there were plenty of people who would tell you, you're only supposed to work for this place, and if you work anywhere else, well, then guess what? You're betraying the school and stuff. And it's even then I was like, you're asking people specifically not to further their careers.
Or get better. Right.
That's cruel.
And it was probably coming from the mouths of people who work there one weekend a month.
Yes.
And don't, the gym is something they drive past on the way to McDonald's. Yeah. So no, I get it.
Yeah. But one of the things I always tell all the people, the students that I do get in front of, I'm always like, remember that you, at the end of the day, you're the one who is paying for an education. So, if you're not getting the education that you think you need, ask about it. And then if that person who is giving you that education refuses to give it to you, guess what? You can go someplace else. Don't ever feel locked into something that, one, makes you unsafe, or two, makes you feel bad. Professional wrestling, at the end of the day, even though, it is a journey, and we are working, and you're never not going to be doing any work, and you always have to put your best foot forward. It's also supposed to make you feel good at the end of the day, because, frankly, I'm a 6-foot man in spandex shorts. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's okay, we're gonna do the work that we need to do, but also make sure that you are respected as the way that a teacher respects a teacher respects a student, and a student respects a teacher. Don't backtalk. Don't be rude. Don't post stuff online where you're like, oh, ha, 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 I'm the champ, blah, 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 I'm this and that, and blah, blah. You know what I mean? Don't be a fool.
Right.
Work within your sense, but still, your teacher is there to protect you and to make you better. And if you don't feel like you're protected and getting better, well, then guess what? Maybe find a new teacher. And that's what I did.
Yeah. Well, that's good. We're going to take another break real quick. And when we come back, we've got some more things to talk about with you. So everyone stay with us. We'll be right back on the MCW Cast.
You already know your child is a wrestling superstar, so give them the chance to prove it by stepping into the ring with the most memorable birthday they will ever have. A party at the MCW Arena is a one-of-a-kind experience that gives kids of any age a chance to live their dreams and be a part of the show. Every guest will enjoy the celebration as they make memories that will last a lifetime. So skip the ball pits and trampolines and visit MCWProWrestling.com to sign up for an MCW birthday party today.
All right, and we are back live with our in-studio guests, Eel Oneal. And Eel, we left off before we went to the break talking about conflicts, like being asked to do something that maybe you were conflicted about, or participating in a match that, hindsight being 2020, you're like, I don't know about the optics of that. Like, that's kind of like them all jumping me and just beating the heck out of me. I know you also from not only Uncharted Territory, but you mentioned Billy Dixon earlier in the cast, and he's done quite a few LGBTQ kind of focused events. Paris is Bumping, the Cassandro Cup. He's done 2 Paris is Bumpings, and he's got some other things he's working on for 2022. Now, I remember when I first met you, meeting you at those shows, or seeing you again after Uncharted Territory. I was wondering if maybe the reason that you were so, enthusiastic about that is maybe you were a member of the community. Have you gotten any sort of, since being associated with Billy and Billy's, cast of characters, myself, Ashton Starr, Darius Carter, all of those, have you gotten any sort of attention from the LGBT community where they're embracing you kind of under the pretense that maybe you are a member of that community?
So I have
right into the mic, please.
Oh, sorry. So I have frequently been not only asked but also like invited to do things that I've had to specifically say no to. I always Billy and what so Billy's always like, Eel, I want you in this space, and I'm like, thank you so much, but I need you to need to remind you that like I'm not queer. I don't identify with that community. While I am an quote unquote ally, as much as a person can say that they are an ally without sounding like a pretentious person who's trying to deflect. I'm always like, well, like, Bill, you have to remember, like optics are everything and opportunities are everything. So like we're doing the Cassandro Cup for Pro Wrestling by Billy's kind of new project, and it was going to be a tag team match with me and Jordan and some other folks, and I was like, Billy, is there a reason why Jordan's not in the Cassandro Cup? And he was like, well, I wanted you guys to have your tag team match, et cetera, and I wanted you guys to be able. And I was like, well, with the understanding that I'm straight and Jordan is queer, I would hate to be the second. This would be the second time that Jordan was robbed of the opportunity to be in a tournament that would showcase her as a queer woman of color. So I'm asking you as a friend, like, to consider. Maybe I just second her, and maybe I do something. Maybe maybe I'm not wrestling that day, or maybe like, hey, you put me in some kind of scramble or something like that, and I'm not doing anything, but I'm just with Jordan supporting her, because when it comes down to it, like, there's a reason I'm not in the Cassandro Cup. Like, I'm not queer, but also these are my friends and these are my folks, and like, I'm gonna be there for them. But like, it doesn't mean that I have to get highlighted. The same reason why, outside of kayfabe, the same reason why, like, I was like, well, Devon's gonna win this match, and Billy at Paris is Bumping at the
Paris is Bumping too.
Yeah, Solid Gold. I was like, well, Devon's gonna win this match. And Billy was like, yep, totally makes sense. And I was like, yep. I was like, we're going to have a match, and I'm going to work a heat, blah, blah, blah. And then hit him with the move, and then I'll lay down on him, and he'll get me, boom, roll up, 1, 2, 3, and then we'll work the tag match later. And he was like, yep, totally makes sense. And he totally understood what I was saying. Like, every single time I participate in an event like this, where I'm like, okay, this reflects somebody else's cultural struggle rather than mine, and I'm being invited into this space, that means that I get to play a part in it, but it means that I'm not center focus, and that's pretty much been my path navigating these things every single time. Like, I've been asked to do like I go, hey, can you do like a run-in on this all women's event that we're doing? And I'm like, no. And it's like, why? It's like, because if she wins, if I come in and I cheat for Jordan, guess what? That means that Jordan didn't win. That means that I won.
Right. She didn't win on her own.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And I was like, if she's gonna cheat, we'll figure something out. I can be there to second. I can be there to second every single time, and I gladly will. I'll walk her to the ring, be there cheering, getting them to antagonize the crowd, whatever we're doing. But one thing I will not do is insert myself into one of those situations. And that's like that's kind of just been my guiding light, is be like, I'm going to be around my friends, and I want to be around my friends. And when my friends invite me places, like, I'm going to go there to support them. But I'm not the star of this show. I'm a bit player.
Right on. That's awesome. That's a great way to kind of address that. We had Max Caster and Anthony Bowens as a part of MCW Last Call.
Awesome.
And I know those guys from VFW Halls, Elks Lodges, all that up in New York City. And now they've kind of, pardon the expression, but gotten a level of acclaim where they're getting a lot of attention. And my question, this was backstage, was addressed towards Max. You know, Anthony Bowens is already kind of like a figure, celebrity, if you will, in the LGBT community because of his video vlog with his boyfriend, where they're talking about, lifestyle choices. And he has quite the following independent of wrestling. So my question to Max was, hey, now that you're kind of like right next to him on a global setting, I'm sure people are like looking into him and seeing that he walks this way of life. Are you getting a lot of that adjacent attention where it's like, oh, Eel's on Paris's bumping too. He's on the Cassandra Cup. I bet he gets down, you know. And not to reveal too much, but actually at Cassandra Cup, I had a couple people come up to me and ask, if that was the case with you, and I was like, I don't know, AC, but if
AC Mack, who I absolutely,
okay, you outed him. I wasn't gonna say anything.
Who I absolutely love was like, Ely, are you family? And I had no idea what he meant. That's how awfully straight that I am. I was like, what are you saying? He's like, are you family? And I was like, what? And he was like, are you queer? And I was like, no, I'm not, unfortunately.
You're just a guest in the house.
Yes, exactly. I'm a guest. I'm a guest in this lovely house, and thank you for having me. And that's pretty. I mean, every single time Billy invites me back, I'm like, yes, because these shows are so much better than some of the other fucking shows that I'm on.
Yeah.
But also, it's like, okay, so now it's time for me to do my part to make this vision really come to fruition and not be, oh, wow, look who's the star, look who's shining, oh, wow, this person got over on X, Y, and Z. And there are... I've talked to enough people to know that there are some folks who will be at certain, LGBT or all black shows who it's like, oh yeah, like you're really taking the spotlight away from people who we were supposed to be highlighting, and not say anything about it. And I don't personally like betraying people's trust that way, because when we become performers, when we become artists, when we become wrestlers, the one thing that we always say that we're going to do is treat the audience with the respect that they deserve. And they paid a ticket, and they paid a ticket for a specific experience. And when they come and do a show, they're asking for a specific experience. And if you're not providing that for them, you've betrayed their trust. I'll never betray an audience's trust, ever.
Right on.
Yeah. So when you were talking about that, I was kind of hearing some undertones too of something else that I've heard you speak of before, and that is equity.
Yes.
And that getting recognition and respect for black professional wrestlers.
Yeah.
And you were. I remember reading a couple interviews that you did, I guess, around maybe 2020, like Black Lives Matter and the speaking out movement. And you were very vocal on both of those fronts. And something that I just kept picking up, when I was researching some stuff about you, was that you really seemed to want this equitable environment and want things to be different that maybe have not been that way in professional wrestling.
I'll take a quick moment to plug Flying V, because we're a performance arts nonprofit, but also we do wrestling. We do 4 wrestling shows a year. One of the things that Joey and I did when we decided to become when we were asked to become kind of the heads of that, Joey Ibanez, Common MK, he doesn't have social media. He hates it, but he is a very good professional wrestler. He decided to, we were like, okay, so because there's two of us, we're always going to know what the other hand's doing. And when we have conversations that are private, because that happens in professional wrestling where people DM you and say, hey, can I get booked? Is there anything that I can do for you? Blah, blah, blah. We're going to make sure that each other know. Not only that, we're just by the nature of us both being men, we're never going to be in the room alone with a woman. Both of us have to be there. And usually we'll ask for a third person to be there. If anybody has any problems, we've created a 3-step process where if you have a problem with me, you can go to Joey. If you have a problem with Joey, you can go to me. And if you have a problem with me and Joey, you can go to somebody else. We want to foolproof this process. And I understand that that's a little bit difficult to ask professional wrestling sometimes, because I know that a lot of people like to, one, deal with these problems under the table, and two, find the quickest solution to fix the problem, because that's our instinct. Not be uncomfortable, fix the problem quickly. I'm not perfect. I never will be. But I do know that when you have to do surgery on a bullet, the process of getting it out sucks almost as much as getting it in. So we got problems. Every scene has problems. Every performance art. There's not a theater. There's not a rock concert hall. There's not a puppet show that doesn't have issues. And wrestling's too important. It's too great to not be like, okay, how do we fix it? That's always been my point. Every time I go somewhere, I just want to be, one, completely respectful, two, as much of an asset to that place as I can be. Somebody asks me for something, what I can do, what I can't do, always let them know. And it's not even just about boiling it down. People talk to me about hey, race stuff, sexuality stuff, identification stuff, names, heritage, backgrounds, creeds. And it really just comes down to, we all have to understand that we're going to all be under the same roof and we're different, but because we're different, the fact that we're here makes this stronger, right? You need a bunch of different types of materials to build a house. You can't just make it out of one thing. House won't stand. Right. That's just not how this thing works. So let's all find ways to show that each and every type of person is doing something different. And all of those things are just as important, and we can rate them with equity and respect, and with honesty. There are black workers who suck. There are queer workers who suck. Sure. There are women who suck. There are white guys who suck. And there are queer, black, white, Latino, Asian wrestlers who are absolutely unbelievably incredible, and we got to give them all opportunities to shine, and that's all I want. I mean, that's what we do at Fly and V. We just basically we hey, these people are the people that we want. Cool. What does that kind of look like? Make the room look like? Okay, cool. And now let's make sure that we can have open, honest discussions with them about what's expected of them and what they expect of us.
Yeah, well, what are your thoughts on the I want to keep going with you. What are your thoughts on the GCW For the Culture shows that don't seem to really be around as much anymore, which lends the question, what was the culture that GCW was kind of spearheading here? But what were your feelings about the genuine nature, the intent of those shows? Because they seem to be kind of buzzing during the beginning of the pandemic last year. Now I haven't heard anything about For the Culture or seen any sort of GCW with the African-American colors behind them. And honestly, and not to try to lead you on this question, when Darius Carter got booked by GCW For the Culture, his promo where he was kind of asking, how is he not good enough for GCW Chapa City, or how is he not good enough for GCW Joey Janela Spring Break? But now that it's For the Culture, you're going to call Darius, Lockhart to be a part of it. So
I mean, they've.
Have you ever been on one of those shows?
Yeah, I was on the For the Culture show that they did for the 24 Hours show.
Okay.
Me and Jordan were. We worked Mike Outlaw and Camaro Jackson. Great wrestlers. Great.
What was that, around
great
like 2 in the
guys.
morning?
Oh my God! It was so it was supposed to be at midnight. It was supposed to be at the strike of midnight, but the power went out.
That's right.
So an hour later.
Yeah, when J Rose went to start the show, and he said it's about to get black as you know what in here, and then the feed cut out. It was on Botchamania. It was hilarious because he said, "Now this show's about to get,
can't make that
and then bloop, that's it. The feed was cut." Yeah. So yeah, it got pushed back to like 2 in the morning or something.
Yeah, and we were freezing. The building unfortunately was not as warm as it could have been. There were no heaters. Which,
I'm familiar with those buildings.
Yes. Yeah, where it's like, okay, great. We're dying and I'm in my gear, so I'm freezing.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody does a show, you got to ask yourself, why are we doing it? Right? And who's involved in that? And if the right people are involved in the way that will lead to it being successful. I think that, for example, I think Effie's Big Gay Brunch reeks of authenticity because I think that Effie really takes the care to make sure that stuff works. That the show that he's creating, that the people that he's involved with, that the people who he's inviting, that the spectacle and the wrestling that he's bringing is 100% authentic to the wrestling scene that GCW will allow. I think one of the things for the culture that I know people brought up was that it felt like a deflection from the real question, which is GCW has a majority white roster, and a lot of people are frequently asking, "Hey, where are the women? Hey, where are the people of color? Hey, what you have all of these people who you're calling the last outlaws, but I see a bunch of people who can do awesome things and would totally fit your environment and setting and aren't being utilized." And that's for them to deal with. All I know is that when I want to watch a show, I subconsciously take into account how much people are represented. And that's not necessarily, hey, I need to see a guy who looks like me, who's my exact age, who has my religious background. But even when I just watch, even if you watch WWE now and you see their roster, you're like, oh, there's people of color here. At the highest level of professional wrestling, there's people of color here. For the biggest indie in the world to be lacking in that, it seems strange. Now I know that AJ and J Rose both were involved in the booking process for the culture, and I think that they did really good jobs. I think that some of those matchups were really, really fantastic.
At first.
Yes, but I also do think that everybody could use a little bit more representation on their shows. I know that we have a very specific group of individuals who usually are interested in becoming a professional wrestler and being involved, and that takes a little bit of extra work, and people get really frustrated when you have to do extra work. I know it because I've been through it now. After somebody put the book in my hands and realizing what it takes to get talent here on the right day and make sure they're safe, plus with COVID precautions, plus the building, plus making sure that the commission will let you run. Oh my gosh. Okay, so what matches do we need to put up? When do we need to do X, Y, and Z? You don't feel like doing that work, but at this point, if people ask the question, it means that if one person asks the question, it means that 20 people have asked the question to themselves. If 20 people ask the question, it means that 20 times 20 people have asked the question to themselves. So it's just that awareness of going, okay, so they're pointing out a problem to me, and not taking it as offense. I don't think it shouldn't be offensive. If somebody was like, hey, this aspect of your show is offensive to me, and they explained why in a manner that wasn't like, hey, you're an F-wit, or you're this and you're that and you're blah 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 and you're this, I'd probably be willing to say, you know what, that is a point. I see what you're saying, and that's really what it is. It's just taking constructive criticism, because the audience wants to like those shows. The audience wants to like the For the Culture shows, but the audience also but a black audience also wants to be involved with our friends with like GCW, and they want to see that representation. And no shade to AJ, because I really do think that like he should have been signed by now already. He's a beast. He's a monster. He's legitimate. But like we want to see black indie guys and gals and pals on that show too, not just John Gresham because John's famous, not just Scorpio Sky because Scorpio's a legend. Sorry, not
Too
just
Cold
Too Cold
Scorpio.
Scorpio. Thank you so much.
It's all good.
Not just Too Cold Scorpio because Scorpio's a legend. We want to see like, oh man,
Darius Lockhart.
Yeah, Darius Lockhart.
Or Darius Carter.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
those are two guys who are already made for those positions, and they bring. I mean, like clearly from NWA and from AEW Dark, they shine in rooms. They shine in rooms. They get in rooms, and you just see how legitimate and how fun they are. I mean, even, gosh, I know they've been on those shows, but like being more featured players, being people who are there more frequently. Tankman. I mean, even Tankman's a badass. He should. Heck, Tankman could be on that show more. He's a giant. Like who's gonna knock down Cal? But I get it. It's people. When people when people receive that criticism, the first thing that you want to do is put your fists up and protect yourself, because you think that what people are trying to trap you in is I take offense game. But they're not. They want to watch your show and they want to enjoy it. And they're just saying, hey, I've noticed that you guys are kind of slipping on like, hey, not too many women on here, or only the same 2 women on here, or only the same black women on there. But like, they make a great product. Like people like it. People clearly like it. They're playing Hammerstein Ballroom, so like, everybody's just asking, hey, can we spice it up a little bit? Can we get a little more aspects of the rainbow?
Well, they got Leo on their roster, and AJ just got announced to be fighting Kingston in the Hammerstein
Eddie,
Ballroom, so that'll be a nice kind of rubski for him. I know I've been monopolizing the cast and our guest here, but I got one more, and then I think we got to drive the ship home.
Yeah.
In your career now, spanning 8 years, have you ever gotten into a situation where you felt that because of your race or because of you being a younger guy, that someone in the locker room or in the ring has tried you and tried to intimidate or bully you or take liberties with you in the ring? I like to ask this of a lot of our guests because I come from the school of Axl Rotten and RJ and Nick Tarantino, those old school guys that would that would really kind of like really give you rattle your teeth. Just to like be like, kid, I've been doing this for 10 years. You just started. You don't know anything. Has there ever been an experience where you felt like someone was trying you?
No. I've been in. I mean, like I've gotten chopped to dog meat.
Well, training though.
Yeah. As much as the next person, and been. I've luckily been in situations where some of the folks were just too lazy to really stretch us out to kill us, and every time that I've been faced with a hard-hitting opponent, usually it's a person who, like, not only do I like, but I respect. The only time that I've been like, this is bad, is I did a show in West Virginia years ago. I think my first or second year, and like I was working heel, and I was working heel, and I was a young guy, so I was just getting heat, blah blah blah, and I just got called the N-word, and I think that's absolutely nuts, but like. Nobody got kicked out over it or anything like that, but like
it was West Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I grew up 10 minutes away from West Virginia. I get it. They're not kicking you out for that.
Yeah, but like you're like, oh sheesh, okay, well, I guess you're the person who I'm gonna mess with this entire time then, because I'm gonna
mess with. Make sure that they're not following me to my car, because
I'm gonna get
with a posse,
because I'm gonna get the most heat off of them. But like I think I give off the idea, or people get from me because I'm a kind of soft-spoken, kind-hearted person, that I'm soft. But I am from Baltimore, and like we used to sleep on mattresses on the floor because there were like bullet holes in like in our
Yeah,
apartment.
you had to stay down.
Yeah,
beneath the window.
Yeah, in our apartment window. So, sorry, in our apartment walls, like things that have been covered up and stuff like that. So, like, I've never been one to not stand up for myself. I've been beaten up by bullies. I've beaten kids up. I've protected people from stuff. You know, I've run from stuff. I'm always, every time I'm in the ring, of the mind that if you show me the respect that I deserve, I'm going to show you the respect that you deserve. Everybody can hit me so hard. I'm 100%, especially because I'm a grapple guy, I'm 100% always open to like, hey man, you a big strikes guy? Great. Light me up. That's awesome. As long as you sell my grapple stuff, we're going to have a great old day. That's why I started wearing the mouth guard, because if somebody's hit me real hard, I can just bite down on that thing and imagine that I'm in Shangri-La and I'm okay. But like, yeah, it's just, I'm always, I've been lucky enough to be shielded from that aspect of people being like, oh, hey, I'm going to kill you, not let you get any offense in, and then be like, hey, good job, kid. I think I like just barely missed it because I think my travels and stuff like that, I got from old school trainers to new school trainers real quick.
Yeah.
It's a generational thing, you know. Yeah,
I feel like it also has to be a respect thing because you do seem very respectful of the business and just everybody that you get in there with.
The second I started wrestling, I was like, okay, and you know, eyes closed, ears open, eyes open, learn what you can, and like ask how to do stuff, but don't ask people why, because they'll explain it to you. And then if you don't know why, then you can be like, okay, so take me through X, Y, and Z, but never be like, oh, actually, can I show you how to do?
Don't do the but.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no. This is it's a business of respect. It's the protection business. That's what the Scots would always tell me. They said it's the protection business. You protect your partner. You protect. If you protect your partner, you protect yourself. And if you respect your partner, you respect yourself. That's how you do it.
Oh, I like that.
It's also
I like
the
that.
mafia.
Okay.
You don't tell anybody anything, and we keep it all in the family.
Well, I wanted to bring up one other thing that we didn't quite get to, but we had mentioned at the beginning of the hour that you've never officially wrestled in MCW, but you have wrestled and worked with some people who are in MCW.
Yeah.
So I wanted to touch on that. Killian McMurphy.
Yes.
We're still working on bringing Big Dust in. And then I believe you had a match against Erica Lee, right? Was it against her?
So I've had tag matches against Erica. I've never gotten to wrestle Erica one on one.
Okay.
This is a bit that we always do. We always end up telling this story. We have tried for so long since the beginning of the pandemic to get somebody to let us wrestle each other because we're really good at it. We've trained enough that we've been like, oh, we'd have a fireworks match. Can't make it happen.
Well, you know, I know some people here, so maybe.
Maybe we can pull some strings.
That's why I wanted to throw that out there, that you've not actually
I
had
wrestled
that.
Andretti. I know you guys have had Bro here. I've wrestled Bro.
Oh, that's right. That was the other one I meant to bring up. Yeah, Bro.
Have I wrestled or just been in a lot of rooms with Keys? I feel like Dante and Keys, I see them everywhere, but I don't know if we've ever wrestled. You guys got a lot of, Tommy. Sheesh. You guys have a lot of folks, Ken. I mean, like guys who I see all around the place, but I'm always like, yeah, no, I haven't. Yeah, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we might have some stroke with the booking department here,
we'll
so
see.
you know.
We'll see how it is.
And you know what? I may have some stroke a couple places in New Jersey, and I know that Erica Lee's a recognized champion in certain companies up there. So
at Old Magic, that belt is so big. She's been. We had a training day one day when all of us kind of like goonish workers, like the goons will all like get together and we'll all do like a training thing. And Erica came and we were all like talking, blah blah blah, shooting the S, and then she was like, yeah, blah blah blah, like because they had done a taping for it, and I was like, yeah, how'd that go? And she goes, you want to know something? And I was like, what? And she goes, I'm champ. She like shows us. She like takes the belt out of her.
Nice.
And she goes, the belt is so big. I was like, that is insane. She goes, yeah. She goes like, yeah. Darius like surprised me when we did it. It was just so. It was such a shock. And I was like, yeah, but like also like. you're 5'10", you're 100 something pounds. Like you look like you. If we're talking about a world where like intergender wrestling is intergender wrestling, and we're talking about people who look formidable versus people who look less formidable, like. Yeah, you're an ass kicker. Like equal opportunity. Like let's go. Like you're you're bigger than some of the guys that I work. Like there are some things that I can do with some of the dudes. Like just pick them up, spin them around. That like I can't do with Erica. So like yeah, like she's a bruiser. It's why her and Bora are always talking about how big they are because they both are. Yeah.
Yeah, well, either MCW Pro or Pro Wrestling Magic, I'm sure we will be seeing Eel Oneal across the ring from the Gummy Bear Kid,
Please.
Erica Lee.
Please, finally.
So, and that brings us to the next place where you can see MCW. We've got a huge weekend coming up in, 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 weeks, yeah.
February 5th and 6th.
Celeb Fest.
So this is a mouthful. So we've got Celeb Fest 3, but it's a 2-day event in 2 different cities and 2 different zip codes, the whole 9 yards. We've got Celeb Fest during the day, which is a convention. You can meet lots of stars. John, you want to name drop a couple people who are going to be appearing?
We're going for Hollywood?
Yeah, let's start with Hollywood.
Lita, Adam Cole, Leo Rush, Kevin Nash, Boogeyman, just... what was it, like 40 stars, I believe?
It's a lot.
Oh,
yeah,
who's who?
Yeah, essentially.
Yep. So you want to look up, you can go to our website and it has all the information there where you can get tickets for the convention and if you want to do different meet and greets. But we want you to stay because then that night we've got a show in Hollywood, which is like our second home away from home. We love the fans in Hollywood, so we can't wait to go back to there. And then, because we're going to have so much fun on February 5th, we're going to do it all again on February 6th. And we're going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to come on this side of the bridge, and we'll be in Glen Burnie, Maryland. Now, this is a new venue for us at
La Fontainebleau.
La Fontainebleau. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Exactly
we
where
will
that
be
is.
there. Is that... So they have like weddings and stuff there, right?
yeah.
Please let there be a wedding going on. Like I just feel like that should happen. We could all crash their wedding. I think that would be fun.
I might crash the reception just to dance.
Right. So we'll do the
love
same thing
dancing at
again. We'll have the
weddings.
convention during the day, and then in the evening we will have a wrestling show. So if you want to get tickets for that, please do. You can go to our website, of course, MCWProWrestling.com. It has all the information there where you can get tickets. Just know that there are separate tickets for the separate events. So if you buy a ticket to Celeb Fest, that doesn't mean you're coming to the show. If you buy a ticket to the show, that doesn't mean you're getting in the door to Celeb Fest. So do take a minute to look. It's customizable, so you can meet who you want to meet and take part in the things that you want to take part in. But do go to our website, MCWProWrestling.com. You can buy tickets just to any of the shows, of course, at Hideaway Collectibles. If you want an in-person experience, want to check out, since we have so many, over 40 stars coming to Celeb Fest, and I'm sure more will be announced in the next 2 weeks as well. You might want to stop by Hideaway Collectibles and get some merchandise to get autographed. So if you're looking for those hard-to-find collectibles and don't want to pay shipping, head on over to Hideaway Collectibles, hideawaycollectibles.com, and Hideaway is located in lovely Dundalk on Hollowbird Avenue, right down the street from Jimmy's Famous Seafood.
That's right.
I think I got it all.
I think you got it all. That was a mouthful. Yeah.
It's a big weekend, and I didn't even talk about the other shows we have coming up because they're coming too. But February 5th and 6th, it's a lot going on, a lot of big stuff happening, and yeah.
That's right. 2526. You don't want to be at Celeb Fest standing in front of the Briscoes without their authentic toys for you to sign. Don't miss out on this. So stop on by Hideaway Collectibles, grab something.
Yeah.
And we'll see y'all at Celeb Fest 3 on February 5th and 6th. And we will see you right here next week for another edition of the MCW Cast for our very special in-studio guest, Eel Oneal. Thank you again. For John, the producer, and Tara, the heart, I'm Larry Legend. We'll see you right back here next Tuesday at 8.